We are here with two experts on operations and on the online world. So in this panel, we are going to focus on discussing about what we have to do in order to switch to the online world. What are the challenges, difficulties, and the things that we still don't understand about this industry in order to help the operators in the region to take the digital leap. Go ahead. Good morning, everyone. We are most definitely facing a different reality, and the challenges that we need to face are quite big. The whole gaming industry needs to take this big step, which is the change that we are all looking for, which is to digitalize our operations, to migrate to the internet, and go through this process that the whole world is going through as well. In that sense, we have a speaker named Eddie who has a lot of experience. So I would like to let him explain a little bit about all of this situation, all of this change, and all of this new movement that the gaming industry is going through. Thank you very much, Javier. There are many experts, I think, but the best knowledge comes from living the experience by yourself. We can learn a lot and get a lot of information from different consultancies and so on and so forth, but the experience from the operators will be unique and different. But there are no set rules. But the first step for an operator that wants to switch from the land-based market to the digital market, to the multi-channel market, needs to think about mid or long-term race. The digital world won't be a solution that will compensate the land-based business in the short term or immediately. That's the first thing that operators, land-based operators, need to have in mind. This is an industry that might be similar in terms of games, but the operations themselves and the way it works in terms of technology, laws, finances, and work teams and customers, it's different from the land-based market. It's not better or worse. Obviously, it's just a different model. So the first step, I would say, is that one of the things that you need to do is, well, the land-based market obviously has depend a lot on a specific brand, a well-known brand, and a clientele that once they want to switch to the online world, they will have to meditate, and most definitely that's one of the first things that land-based operators think about. When will I be able to change all my database of clients to the digital world? And the same goes with the growth of the company. This is a conversion that might be quite slow, especially in the beginning, but we have to think that this is a learning curve, not only at the company level, but also in terms of the customers. Most of them most likely are already clients in different platforms. But if we only have customers that only go to land-based casinos, then they will have to trust in certain websites and payment methods, and games might look the same but are not the same as the ones in the land-based casinos. Obviously, there are brands that reproduce the same titles both in the land-based and online casinos, but most companies don't produce the same games. You can have certain slots in the land-based casinos, but others in the online world. So first you need to trademark your brand and make sure that both in the digital world and the land-based, you have a trademark, so you're covered on both sides, because obviously the first value comes from the land-based. And the second thing is to take into account that this is a long-term or mid-term process, and you will need to follow a learning curve. And also, I think that it's really important to consider that you're going to need external help from the very beginning, at least in the initial phase. So those are the first three steps that we need to take into account, besides the investment that it's going to be required for this business, which obviously is where the money will come from. To have a business plan for the digital business nowadays, depending on the market, for 4 or 5 years, I think that you won't have a logical scenario. You need to take into account that most operators in the market will be handicapped because there are other brands that have many years in this world, in this digital world already, and there are other brands that work in without regulations. They don't pay taxes, and they are not regulated at all. So we start being handicapped. So obviously, we need to do things effectively. First of all, because the regulator will try to control illegal gaming even more. And second, your brands, since there is brand recognition not only in the land-based but also in the digital, at a digital level, you're going to have marketing, and you can gain more consumers that want to have maybe physical site or a land-based site as a reference. So those would be the first important aspects that you need to take into account. Perfect. Right. I just wanted to reinforce what he just said, because those are the basic questions that all of us have. Everyone who's interested in knowing about this market. For example, I come from the land-based casinos. I've been working in this sector for more than 10 years, and it was really difficult for me to sit on a table and actually understand what they were saying and give my opinion. It took me many years to actually understand the online world. And what you said is true. This is not a short-term business. That's the first thing. Second, the investment that you make this year, I mean, you won't see its return next year, or not even 2 years from now, but in 4 or 5 years. The third thing is the regulations. There are no regulations in certain countries, and in other ones there are. Fourth, we've seen that we have to think that before launching, or before actually taking a leap to an ocean that already has many fishermen, you have to remember that you are not alone. Javier? Lizzie, it's quite interesting. We are always trying to look for new ways to improve and increase our business. So, how can we create synergies between these traditional operations, land-based casinos, and direct contact with customers, which somehow still exists and it will continue existing, but how can we look for synergies with online casinos? Well, what comes to mind is to have a product such as live casino, and there are already some offers in the market that allow land-based operators to customize the live casinos within their own facilities. So somehow you're going to show a game for customers that already know your casino, and those who don't, they will see it. It's a safe, reliable environment. Even the fact that customers can actually collect their earnings in the land-based casinos, regardless if they earned them in the online casino. So I see that there are evident synergies to have live games. If you have the logistics to do so, there are companies that also provide the technology and also the studio setup. But you also have the option to provide the option to customers to collect their earnings in the land-based in your land-based casinos. So at the end of the day, you're going to have a synergy at that level because customers are going to recognize your brand in the online world. And second, in terms of operations, they will be able to go to your land-based casino. So obviously you can offer them then any type of promotion that it's friendly, that applies both for the online and land-based businesses. I think that it's important to highlight staff. When you have a land-based casino and an online casino, I think that you need to take into account your team. As Lizzie mentioned, she worked in the land-based casinos for a long time, and then she went to the online world, and obviously she needed support and learn and know how to participate in this new business. So I think that it's important, especially in terms of customer accounts. I think that we have to include our employees from the land-based casino, especially for account management and VIP customers, because they know their behavior even better. They know how to communicate with them a lot better than the more distant, cold relationship that we have in the online world. So both employees need to be very well connected because both faces of the business need to communicate with the customers and provide offers so they can play in both channels. Because at the end of the day, I want those customers that were just clients for one of those two options can attend both. So I need to have cross-selling. And that's why you need both teams. Eddie, thank you for that tip. Actually, it's fantastic. It's the very first time that I have heard of it. I would have never thought about the possibility of for a small or medium-sized business to have a studio just to create it, to offer these live game. I thought that the ones who provided this service, and I'm not going to name them because there are many, I thought that they were the ones who who were leading the way. So as operators, we negotiated the signal and we could see games from Russia and others. But if you can do this in your own jurisdiction, then we will have to see if the regulation allows us to do so or not. If this market is great, then we can start innovating and we can have that option. So I really like that idea. I'm concerned though, Javier, from the operator's point of view, do you think that this is feasible? So far, the formula that Eddie has given us, it sounds fantastic. What do you think? Look, it's relevant. That point is relevant for us operators, casino operators, land-based casino operators. I think that this conversation is quite important because without realizing it, now we see that there is quite an interesting option for two reasons. The first one is because we have the infrastructure, and I cannot really say that, okay, this infrastructure will disappear tomorrow. No. We have this infrastructure and a lot of staff with a lot of knowledge from many years, and behind this, there's a brand that has already been generated. Most operators already have a specific brand, and customers are used to that brand. So why should we forget about all of this? If we take the next step and we switch to the digital world in order to work in the online market. So this online market is not a market that's going to replace the land-based market, but it's going to add to it instead. So I think that this is quite an interesting and important point, and many operators have been asking ourselves that exactly. If we set a goal for ourselves for the next 4 or 5 years in order to strengthen the brand that we already have, in order to upload it to the digital world, and we can manage both fronts in order to complement each other, I think that this will be fantastic in the future. Customer management is vital. It's one of the most important things, I think, in a multi-channel operation, because most customers, especially VIP customers, are known by the employees of the company, but many others are anonymous people who just play in the land-based casino. Maybe then they go to a competitor's casino because they're offering a soccer game that yours doesn't, or maybe because they have a roulette that they like better than yours, or maybe because there's a slot there that he thinks gives him luck. So it's vital to manage customers in the retail market. So a person who's in charge of a land-based casino, they know customers personally in many cases. So these should be used in order to not switch the customers, but actually show them the way to a new option in this online world. And it takes time, and it takes a lot of work for land-based operators. It can be difficult. Maybe if you have 100,000 customers, you won't be able to make them play in the online channel in the first year. Well, the conversion will take time. Maybe the first year, if you achieve 20%, it will be a great achievement. But I want you to think that most of the business will be based on customers that are already playing in the land-based casino. And obviously, the brand is one of your strong points. To have a land-based casino, to have the trust of your customers, whether new or old customers from our land-based casinos. And one of the most important aspects is the team management and account management at a CRM level, in order to have very strong teams in terms of acquisition, retention, customer turnover, and VIPs, obviously for physical customers and online customers, and also in terms of marketing. Your company's marketing from the very beginning, you should consider 60 or 70% of the budget without exaggerating, but obviously you have to measure what does these marketing target, because you need to be different. Of course, we see that there is a lot of work because many people hasn't really understood what this means. It's actually a good thing, and there are millions of dollars in the online gaming and sports betting and esports. So what we've learned in these panels is quite impressive. We don't need to go to the university. So goodbye, Las Vegas. We have learned a lot here. One of the important things that you just mentioned was marketing policies, and who are we aiming our marketing at? Our old customers, maybe the senior people who went to have a coffee and play the slots, or do we pretend to get those new or youngsters, new customers, youngsters who want like other types of games, of course, who want to play Fortnite, for example, and these sagas where they play with anyone. It seems like this is going to be the best panel of CGS because the tips that you've given us are fantastic. Javier, you're talking about something very important. I see that you're so focused that I think that now your mind just open up. What else can we ask Eddie? Because he's very kind. He has shared a lot of information with us. Yes, I think that all of this is quite relevant. One thing in particular is that in the last 5 years, more than ever, in Latin America, or in the Peruvian case specifically, we've seen a big change in terms of customers. Many traditional customers who used to play in the slots or customers who would just play again and again and again and just spin and spin constantly. They changed the way they played, and this was because the age range changed drastically. Customers from 25 to 35 and 40 years old started creating a need which was interpreted by slot machine manufacturers as well. They started introducing certain modifications, so they were not interested in just spinning and pulling the lever, but they wanted second options, second screens, so you could interact with the machine itself. So this started creating a different need. Now we are facing a change which is a result of a need. This worldwide pandemic, this global pandemic, it's something that it's not going to be solved in the next 6 months. We're going to have to swim in these turbulent waters, but we need to start thinking seriously in expanding our portfolio. The offer that we have for customers that are used to physical contact, and at a certain point you're going to start in getting vaccines, and that it's quite delayed in every country pretty much, and this complements the online world because this is linked to casinos, because you will be connected to the land-based casinos, but you are also connected with the reality of the casino and with the brand, depending on what the casino can actually offer its customers. And as Eddie mentioned, we need to be attractive enough in order to take a part of that share, of that market share, because there are already online operators, but we need to be attractive enough in order to attract customers that are not interested in this online world. So there's an important process here. It's a long process. We need to have a trial and error process. We need to follow an error, trial and error process. I'm sorry, Elizabeth. There are new trends. Customers prefer games that are different from the past. Even regardless of the pandemic, I think that we've noticed this change many years ago. For example, many people are using smartphones as their main channel. There are more mature channels or actually markets, and more than 50% of every country, customers choose to play in their cell phones instead of the computer. Also, this is a reflection of the fact that customers need more interaction from anywhere. And that's why they like live games. And yeah, I agree with what you said, Javier. I think that live games need a new evolution where they replicate somehow the offer from the slots that we see in the streets, where customers can have a bonus game or a multiplying game, where basically they have more options to play, not to win, but to be entertained, so they can get something extra besides what you get from any other machine. I think that this can be replicated in the live games. So we need to have more options of interaction with maybe the game host, and that's very important. Besides everything that we have in terms of gamification, we need to offer customers prizes, not just as free, not only free bets, but also virtual elements, just as we have in social networks. For example, rewards. Maybe I can have a different icon, or I can create an avatar, or I can have a video in social media where I'm congratulated virtually. So those type of things are making their way in the digital world, but that's a reflection of what's going on a lot in the society in general with the social networks. To me, the people who come from gaming and turns to gambling is closer and closer, and it's a reflection of that. Gaming and gambling is pretty much the same thing, I think. Pretty much it's the same thing, because we thought that our children, once they grew up, they would leave their Nintendo and PlayStation, and then they would live in the real life. But no, now they're playing Fortnite and I don't know what other sagas. And now they're playing casino from their computer, from their cell phone. So now the gamers have become gamblers. So that's something that could concern operators maybe, but we have to think about this new market because it's new. The traditional market will end at a certain point, I think. People who are 60, 70 years old, well, this market will run out of this market, who are used to the land-based casino. So we need to replicate what we have in the online world. Your ideas are fantastic. Most definitely, those are ideas that we need to think about in order to see things in a different way. And this is what we have been discussing with the different people in CGS. Every company, no company in our region understand what's going on, so this is not working fully. What do you say about that, Eddie? I think that talking about customer loyalty, this needs to evolve a lot, especially in the Latin American market. But in my experience, well, I'm working on in a company that offers games, but my work is 70% operations. And I've also worked in the land-based market when I was a junior worker, so to speak. But loyalty can give you a lot of turnover, especially interesting customers can give you a good revenue, but that won't be the basis or the foundation for your business. But they give you some turnover, basic profitability, and obviously this does not depend on the investment in traditional means or advertisement or digital media, but you need to take into account that valuable gamblers are quite expensive. You might pay 50% of their benefit, and obviously these gamblers or customers are not newbies. They have a risk level depending on their profitability, because if we talk about the tipsters, there's a tipster center, and the people who like sports betting have certain information that it can be a lot more precise in comparison to playing the roulette, because we have to consider numbers there. But a sports bet is just you bet on a sport based on the history of this event, and obviously the likelihood of winning is different in comparison to a slot machine, for example. So yes, the customer loyalty needs to grow in Latin America, but I think that will come with the market being more regulated. There are markets such as the Colombian market that it has more serious loyalty. The Brazilian one has always had a good loyalty, the Peruvian as well, but it has been very dedicated to selling their customers to the European markets, and European customers don't usually play in the Latin American markets, but there are companies that actually are working well, and this activity will be more regulated. So in my opinion, this is one of the elements of this mixed marketing that would be the most important one in the beginning, together with the search engines. But it won't be your main source of getting customers, and it won't bring the differentiation of your business at a target level. So this is just like the foundation in order to have a minimum number of gamblers always being active in your site, but the new acquisitions will come from other means, whether the traditional or digital means, where you can differentiate your brand, and not just through a bonus, but through the way in which you attract a customer, and that customer doesn't go to other competitors. But as we said, this has to evolve with the regulation. Right, Javier, do you have any comments or questions in regards to this topic? I have a question. We've opened up this conversation, and we're talking about very interesting topics, but in a practical way, in simple words, for all of those people who are listening to us and watching this, what steps would you suggest? For example, I have a casino, I have a land-based casino. I have developed a known game, and I've been running this way for many years. I've been working like this for years. So what steps should I take so I can actually configure this online casino? First of all, you need to register to have your trademark. You need to make sure that you are protected in terms of brand at a commercial level, not only in your country, but I would even aspire to have a domain that does not only include Peru, but every country where you think that you might grow in the future, in order to have some sort of competitive advantage or synergy in the future. You should always think about 5 or 10 years from now. That would be the first step. Second, obviously, you need to do some research of the market in terms of talking about the technical, legal, and aspect. Technology is the heart of this business, not only in terms of servers, but also game offers, platforms, tools, and services. Initially, I think that the easiest way to do so is to choose a platform that provides a turnkey solution, just to start. A solution that will give you a technical platform as well as the games and gamer management, payment methods. So it will give you all the tools from the get-go. So I would search the market in order to see what options there are and what they offer. Third, I would I would look for external help in terms of consultancy, especially for the staff and platform selection. I think that there are people who are very capable in the market. They could also help you in terms of the regulation. That same person or company could help you. In that way, they could give you regulatory support and technical support, and maybe you can think about which companies can provide you the technological services. And also you need to define the team structure that you want to have. Once you have a team structure, what kind of staff you're going to need, depending on the options that these turnkey solutions that the companies have offered you, they will give you certain options that you can check yourself. And maybe you need a certain staff that just need training in terms of customer service, and that usually costs a lot of money. But the idea is to localize this in your country within a structure that you already have, but you usually need training and a technological setup. In this case, the technological setup would be a platform oriented to the customer, and this is very similar to other companies, what other companies offer. The thing is that you are only going to have a program that is different in terms of customer account management, and you need the vendor that's going to run these software, and these agents are going to manage customers. Obviously, you can also manage this internally without the need of external services. You can control payment methods yourself. You can hire that as well independently. Credit cards, debit cards, or digital cards, PayPal, and so on and so forth. And you can do that yourself, integrating that in your platform. This is usually provided by them, but they usually get a percentage of each operation. Another step that I would take once I know what technological options I have, what a turnkey solution I will get, the team that I will have, then I will go to the finances, depending on the regulatory limitations and the costs that the license would involve. That's a third factor that we need to take into account besides technology and the technical aspect and staff. We need to consider the financial aspect. That's the third factor. Besides registering your domains and your brand. And then I would need to estimate your investment, your return. Obviously, you need to see your strategy within your business plan. Obviously, it's very important to have a long-term business plan and to estimate how are you going to differentiate your brand from others. Obviously, the market has a specific size, and when it's real when the numbers are published, and it grows annually. So you need to measure what would be your market share depending on the tools that you have at hand. Obviously, you won't get that by investing the exact same amount as your competitors or by offering the same products as your competitor, and that's why it's key to differentiate yourself. What would be your market niche? What will be your strategy in order to have a competitive advantage in comparison to your competitor? Obviously, you need to do an assessment of your competitors. For example, I know that 888, I won't be able to match that company in terms of customers, but maybe I can offer land-based games because they don't have that. So I'm going to advertise that in order to capture customers that like playing roulette more than other types of games. So you need to differentiate yourself in your business plan. And obviously, after you have those four main factors very well planned, you need to get a team and differentiate your marketing in order to get customers. To me, marketing is like the bullets in a gun. Most definitely, I think that it's one of the most important aspects of a business. it's very important to have staff that already knows marketing in social media. That's fundamental. So you can have a very strong mobile marketing. They need to know advertising in both land-based and digital businesses. So there are a lot of people who can give you those services, and you can also do that yourself depending on the staff that you have with you. And I think that would be a starting point, so you can start your campaign and see what investment you need in order to reach to get that market share that you are aspiring to, and that market share will be measured in terms of the customer's value in your market. That will be the measure of that what will cost you, and you will have to retain that then. Besides all the expenses in terms of technology, finances, inventory, and so forth, so on and so forth. Well, those are the main issues that I think that you need to plan from the very beginning. It's quite a lot. Let's start from a real situation. The Latin American market was quite behind in comparison to other regulated markets, and that's been the situation for 2 decades. So this pandemic has accelerated the investment in our businesses, and there's this digital revolution. There's a fourth digital revolution. There's always resistance to change. A traditional operator, the land-based operator, didn't really understand at 100% the advantage that they would have if they entered in this world. They needed to understand it in full because it's quite complex. Some people just think, oh, okay, let's open the website ABC Casino and okay, we'll start earning tomorrow and that's it. No, there's a process that you need to go through, and obviously from your advice, I think that what's really important is that we need support. So there are companies that offer services so they can support you for the first 6 months. Also verticals. This business is so big and it's quite extensive. So where are we going? Casinos. How many slots? Am I going to include exact same titles from the land-based casinos and some other ones? Or what games? If I have a small operation without live games, then I have the opportunity to do this with a company that can offer this service. Maybe I can have my studio if the legislation allows me to, and maybe I can have my own live games. I can include esports, fantasy sports. There is a big range of games that I can offer, and marketing is the heart of the business. If the marketing people don't understand how to reach these traditional customers in order to pull them to the digital world, because they might have cell phones or computers, and we don't know how to make this connection between the new customers that we don't know that we wanted to take from our competitors, then we need to have a marketing plan. It's not easy, but it's not impossible either, because others have done it already and we don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's already there. We just need to pay attention, do a very good market analysis, and obviously see what's most convenient for our jurisdiction, for our business size. If I'm a mega operator, then I have more possibilities. If I'm a smaller operation, okay, then I can invest a little bit of money and then make progress little by little. Eddie, I would like to give you the opportunity to tell us a little bit about what your company does exactly. So from all of these possibilities that we have in the market, how can you help our customers? Well, my company is called BETGames .tv, and it's a Lithuanian company since the year 2012. We've been working, and this company produces its own live games. We do our own studies based in Lithuania. And obviously, these studies replicate a lot, and we always have new studies, but our games are not the typical live casino product that usually offers roulette, blackjack, and baccarat with the typical casino mechanics, with prices, maybe with a variant or with an extra game. Our games are based mainly on sports bets because we combine watching an event with different topics, for example, the lotto or cards or a poker game. And then the customer can bet as if they were making a sports bet with a subscription and then they can see the results on that game. For example, in a poker game, there might be 5 people playing, and each hand will see, each one will change in terms of how much you're winning. And there is a certain number of combinations you can buy with a full, or with different options. We produce a software that basically reproduces the likelihood, some sort of payout as sports betting. There's a fixed bet that varies depending on the deck, on the card deck, and we have a variant from live games with sports betting, and that's how we attract a broader target, and we convert many sport bet customers to casino customers. So we have an interesting market niche which is different to other big competitors and who have similar products. So this is just an analogy. If you want to start in this market and get at a niche, differentiating yourself, as you said before, you can have one product with your brand, with something special, with promotions, or maybe you have a brand ambassador that's unique and different, and you have and if you have a very good communication with your customers from your target, there are many ways of differentiating yourself, but what's important is how much you want. You need to be realistic. You cannot pretend to be 888, for example, like the casino operator from day one, but you can choose to attract a target within the audience that you think that you can reach in a stronger way in comparison to others, because you have a card under your sleeve that can help you. Just to give you an example, and then I'll stop talking because I've talked too much. A few years ago, I worked for an Italian company that came from a digital environment, but not from the gambling world. They worked on digital messaging, I believe. It was a good group, a good-sized group, but obviously they did not understand anything about gambling. So they hired an expert who came from the gambling world, but in terms of TV gambling from the United Kingdom, they produced Super Casino TV shows. That's how it was called. And the roulette game was broadcasted from a studio, so people could play these from a desktop, from their smartphone, while watching the TV show. So the host interacted with the customers, and they could call out their nicknames and so on and so forth. So you had a unique product. It was very difficult to replicate, and this Italian company launched these in Italy and Spain, and in a very short period of time they surpassed the other brands that were in the live game industry. Even though they started from scratch, our market share was 10% in the first year, which was a huge achievement. So there are ways of differentiating yourself, not as spectacular this one, because you would need quite an investment, and to have the right people in your team and the right technology as well, and experienced people. In this case, in the from the TV world, but it was quite a success with this product just by being different. You don't need to be different in everything, but just in something. Quite interesting what you just commented, Eddie. I think that it's been quite clear the steps that we need to take in order to have the option to have an online casino. And I wanted to ask you something. Sports betting. Actually, I don't know how it works in other countries, but in Peru, the income has been quite interesting. But this was mainly because this was in land-based spaces, small rooms. So it was easy access. There was visual access. People could see it from the street. So there was a big movement in terms of sports betting. Basically, what was the common point here was that they had the soccer leagues, the local leagues that always attract a lot of customers. But there's a whole movement surrounding this. So I see interesting options in the online casino. And I also see something interesting in slots. I understand that there are many game manufacturers from well-known brands worldwide who are providing access, giving access to these servers, to these businesses, so they can also have the possibility to exhibit their game from a traditional customer, but in an online world. So can you tell us a little bit about this? Yes, obviously the main games that are offered. For example, if you want to offer traditional land-based games in live streaming, for example, so the main games are like the roulette, blackjack, baccarat. These are poker games. In terms of slots, there are important brands that I could mention that who already offer digital variants from their slots. You can find in the street, for example. So somehow they are connecting the land-based customers to the online casino. So that's why customers trust in these online casinos. The keyword here is trust. If you analyze it, to me, the keyword would be trust if you analyze it all. And you can gain trust in years, but you can lose it in a second. And that's how complex trust is, especially when there's money involved. Obviously, if you have bad reputation, well, that's it. That's what it is. I think that that's super important. We need to highlight what you just said, trust. There are still many companies. Well, I think that this has to do with exposure that we have because of this pandemic. But trust is there's a very thin line in terms of trust. It's very difficult to achieve, to gain trust, but it's extremely easy to lose it, as you said. So there's a whole process here, and it's very important whether you work in the digital world or online casinos. Yes, and obviously Peru needs the essential regulations to allow something else besides sports betting and casinos. I mean, we need the regulation for the online world to live in these two worlds. So you can work in a legal way. But if the regulated market reaches Peru, then obviously all of those missing pieces will be joined together in one, and the local brands that have recognized brands will have an advantage that nowadays they don't have. The online market in Peru is, well, a jungle. Here, whoever has the longest teeth wins. If you have more investment in marketing, you win. It doesn't matter if you have a very well developed platform that has been in the works for years and it's it might be even better than others. It doesn't matter, and that's the problem. You can also have a platform with a very well organized game offer with games that Peruvians like. Or maybe you can invite them to eat in a cool restaurant. Obviously, eating in Lima is a pleasure. If I were a Peruvian company, I would offer eating in restaurants every day. And yeah, I would weigh 200 kilos, but well, yeah, we would all be very fat. That's true. Okay, guys, thank you very much. We have exchanged our ideas. There's been a lot of knowledge from the operator's point of view, from the manufacturer's point of view, with a lot of experience. So thank you very much. You've been very transparent and honest with our audience because you have shared all your knowledge and all the steps that they need to take, that operators need to take if they pretend to switch to the online world. And this is just a plus. They won't stop working in the land-based casinos, but there's a need to also do this revolution. The online gaming is a need in order to make our businesses grow. Somehow this pandemic has simply accelerated this process, and we needed to take that leap. There's no other way. We have to do so. And the advice that you've given us have been very clear, has been very clear. And I think that you have opened up our minds, and now we have many ideas. And well, thank you for your time. I know that your agendas are quite tight, but you've taken some time from your busy agendas to discuss about what you know the most, which is operations, in order to switch to this market or to enter this market. Thank you for participating in this event. Thank you. Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you for trusting in us, Eddie. Thank you for your patience. Believe me, this has been really interesting. And well, we're making progress. Let's take care. Thank you, Liz. To me, this has been just like talking among friends. Yes, that's the idea. There are companies who are going through a very complicated situation, but we have something to teach others. And it's good to speak freely and enjoy it and discuss among friends. That's the idea of CGS, to put together all the different stakeholders within the industry. And now we're doing it virtually. So thank you for your time. Hopefully we can keep helping operators within our region. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people is going to contact you, Eddie. Javier, good luck with the notes that you've been taking, and now you have to put everything into practice. So thank you very much for your time. Thank you, and take care. Thank you very much.